Go ahead, Sheikh.
Inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya wal Mursaleen. Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri. Wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Once again, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us in this endeavor of seeking knowledge. Allahumma allimna ma yanfa'una wanfa'na bima 'allamtana wa zidna ilma. Ya Allah, teach us that which is beneficial for us and bless us in the knowledge you have granted us. Increase our knowledge. Before I begin the discussion about this important personality from India, I would like to urge myself and everyone hearing me to pray for our brothers and sisters in Gaza and Palestine, and also for everyone, all those who are oppressed and persecuted all over the world, Muslims or non Muslims. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help them gain their freedom and dignity, and may Allah defeat the oppressors and persecutors and bring them down, destroy their plans, inshallah. And today I have this very important personality to discuss. We have been discussing personalities from the Middle East, from Africa, from various parts of the Muslim world, but today I have this important personality from the Indian subcontinent. He is indeed one of the giants of the of Islamic tradition in India, and also his contributions are really unsurpassed. I will talk about his million origins, his education, his career, contributions, legacy, testimonials, and wisdom. Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanawi was an outstanding jurist and Quran interpreter, mufassir, and spiritual mentor. He was a Sufi and a mentor who was also known as a grand Imam. People call him as Al Imam, Al Akbar, Hakim, Hakimul Ummah, the sage of the Ummah of the Muslim nation, Muslim community, and Mujaddid. According to our Imam Maulana Abul Hasan Ali Nadawi, we have already discussed him. He was the most prolific author of all time. Abul Hasan Ali Nadawi is referring to Ashraf Ali Thanawi, who considered him as his mentor actually. According to Abul Hasan Ali Nadawi, Ashraf Ali was the most prolific author of all time, as he produced more than 1,000 works. It's indeed a great achievement. Through his work, teaching, and mentoring, he benefited thousands during his own time and continues to benefit generations through his works and through his disciples. He made significant contributions to various fields of Islamic knowledge. His career spanned several decades with distinguishing outstanding scholarly achievements, spiritual leadership, and also he was a scholar actively involved in reform of the society because he considered that a Muslim scholar cannot be aloof, he cannot be detached, cannot be complacent, cannot be resigning to the status quo, but he should improve the situation of his community and his society and the world he is living. This is, he considered as an integral aspect of Islam. Every Muslim, every scholar should do so. He was also a synthesizer because in Islam we have various streams. They are often conflicting, contradictory, but he tried to synthesize them and tried to harmonize divergent streams of fiqh and tasawwuf, because there was a so-called hostility between tasawwuf or sharia and tasawwuf, or fiqh and tasawwuf, and fiqh and hadith, and of course reason and revelation. He tried to synthesize, he harmonize these various streams of the Islamic tradition. He was a reformer who diagnosed, of course, all of those we discussed before, most of them were also reformers. In the case of Ashraf Ali Thanawi, he was a reformer who was born into a different milieu in India. So he diagnosed the diseases of the Muslim community and prescribed methods of reform. He wanted to reform the beliefs and practices of Muslims because he thought they had deviated from the golden path, the highway, the broad way that the Prophet said, "Taraktukum malal mahajjatil bayda, layluha kanahariha, la yazihu anha illa harik." I have left you on a broad highway, the Prophet said. Layluha kanahariha, the night therein is as clear as the day. Whoever leaves this broad highway, taking to the side streets, he will get lost. He will deviate from the Surat al Mustaqim. So, this was the concept that, Ashraf Ali Thanawi imbibed, and he wanted to make sure that Muslim purge the Muslim beliefs and practices of un-Islamic destructive habits and customs. He also made significant contribution to educational and curricular reforms and established institutions. He produced teachers and scholars and left spiritual successors who would impart, continue to disseminate the ideas and the authentic Islamic knowledge. Through his fatwas, he sought to address the challenges of the time, so that because he realized that the fatwas that were given and the teachings of the scholars of the time did not relate to the practical issues that Muslims are facing in their everyday life. So now we need to speak, I was just introducing a few words, just briefly what we are going to establish here. So now coming to his origins and milieu, Ashraf Ali Thanawi was born on August 19, 1863 in the village of Thana Bhavan in the Muzaffarnagar district of Uttar Pradesh, UP, India. This was before partition of India. He was born when India witnessed significant social and political changes under British colonial rule. We had occasion of the destructive impact, very, very unfortunate how the colonialists ruptured the Islamic tradition, destroyed, and they exploited the resources and reduced people to poverty. And they are still doing that. Settler colonialism, this is what we are seeing in front of us, repeated in Palestine. How these European Jews come there and acquire citizenship the next day, and then of course they attack and displace the indigenous population, Palestinians, millions of them have been displaced. The British Empire controlled various parts of Indian life, aspects, governance, the economy, and education. They completely uh, upset the system. The Indian subcontinent was characterized by diverse religious and cultural milieu. He was born in Thana Bhavan in the present day, we already mentioned. He belonged to a respected family of scholars and Sufis with a lineage going back to, they say, Umar al Khattab radiallahu anhu. He received his early education from his father, Maulana Muhammad Farid, who was a rich and generous man and also a renowned scholar and Sufi. Thanawi was a precocious boy who displayed exceptional intelligence and dedication to learning from a very, very young age. This is highly remarkable. Thanks to this, you see how he became what is now people, scholars refer to him as Hakim al Ummah, the scholar sage, sage scholar of India, of the Ummah, the Islamic community. After memorizing Quran at 10, Thanawi pursued advanced studies in Islamic sciences at various traditional madrasas. Finally, he came to Darul Uloom Dayuband, the greatest university, Islamic university in India, and still functioning, flourishing, which has produced generations of scholars and continue to produce. Darul Uloom Dayuband, he studied there under great scholars, and he graduated actually with flying colors actually. Among his peers, Sanavi is shown for his single-minded dedication to his studies, totally devoted. It said about him that he had this aversion to all worldly distractions. Although he had his own family, blood relations within the area or the campus or in the neighborhood of the Yuban, he could have gone there to partake of better meals than what is provided at the Yuban for the students, but he refused to do so because he wanted to single mindedly focus on his studies, and he had this aversion to all distractions. He was never involved in, he was wholeheartedly pursuing his studies, unwavering pursuit of spiritual excellence. So not only acquiring knowledge of the Quran and Hadith and the fiqh and tasawwuf and seerah and the falsafa, but he is also experiencing the fruits, the spiritual aspect of Islam. So Islam has this outward aspect, external laws and rituals, and then there is soul, batin, inner aspect. So spirituality, you cannot isolate the outer from the inward. You know, a journey that continues to captivate and intrigue. Everybody who's studying, I never studied in depth about him and knew in depth about him until I had to research for this session. So I was really, really impressed by this great personality, great Imam, great Mujtahid and Mujaddid. Definitely, he was unsurpassed in many aspects. He showed utmost respect because this scholar is not just a scholar, but he has the adab. Al Islam kulluhu adab. Islam is all about proper manners and etiquettes. And one of the main aspect is you have to be respecting your teachers and mentors. This is what is missing in the secular education system, and it is influencing Muslims because we attach no value to our ulama who teach us. This is not Islam. So in the manner of Salafus Salih and the great Imams is to hold his mentors and teachers with utmost respect. And also very, very important, he practiced preaching, giving sermons. Even as a boy, teen, in his teens, he would climb the mimbar and start practicing sermons because he wanted to teach people and counsel people and make a change, improve the mentor people, inshallah. He mastered the art of time management. He never wasted even a single minute as his own discipleship. And that's why he is one of the greatest scholars, most productive scholars in the entire history of Islam. Career. Soon after his graduation from the Yuband, his career began as a teacher at different madrasas. We don't want to go into details of these madrasas, but wherever he went, he imparted knowledge to students and mentored aspiring scholars. He had established, finally, he had established a Khanaqah, a Sufi lodge. It was not just a Sufi lodge, but where Islam is disseminated and people would gather and boarding and lodging, and he will mentor students and spiritual aspirants. Concurrently, he started writing scholarly works, producing a vast corpus of literature covering diverse diverse subjects, all uh, disciplines, Islamic disciplines he covered in his books. In the books he has written, they were not just superficial; they were contain valuable original insights because he is trying to synthesize. He is not just giving you, repeating what is already written there, but trying to critically look at them and try to disseminate. He's recognized for his expertise in Islamic jurisprudence, fiqh. He also began issuing legal opinions, fatwas, on various matters. He belonged to the Hanafi school, but he never was a blind imitator. He preached against blind imitation. He respected all the schools, and whichever masala, he would study them from all the schools, and he would prefer choose what, according to him, is the most authentic, to be backed up by evidence in the sources and sound interpretation, and of course the way of the mainstream Islamic scholarship. Demonstrating a deep understanding, his fatwas, were quite new because they want to relate this fiqh to the changing circumstances. So, deep understanding of the practical challenges Muslims face in their daily lives, and he wanted to provide practical solutions. So, for example, in the case of a woman who lost her husband. Husband has disappeared. There is no trace of him. According to the traditional Hanafi who she cannot get married. She cannot dissolve this marriage. For years and years. Sometimes say 90 years or lifetime, average lifetime. But of course, this is something very, very destructive for that woman and harmful for her interest. So he chose the Maliki opinion that she should wait for 4 years, and of course there are conditions, and then she can get married after dissolving the marriage. Thanawi's reputation as a mufti grew rapidly. He became known for his insightful legal analysis and pragmatic approach to contemporary issues. So that was his aspect, his career as a faqih. Now his involvement in tasawwuf. Tasawwuf is very, very important because otherwise we will reduce Islam to outward rituals and dogmas. What's very, very important is that Islam is not simply rituals and dogmas. Islam, there is a soul to the Sharia, to the fiqh, to every law in Islam. There is an outer aspect and inner aspect. Salah has a form, it's a shell, and there is a ruh of Salah. That's why Allah says, الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Those who are mindful in their prayers. So that Allah begins that, that's the first thing. Then comes the form. So although in the ordinary way of teaching we talk about the form, yes, surely we have to pray as the Prophet prayed, but we have to understand that this prayer is not merely that outward form and rituals, it has an inner dimension. So he was initiated into various Qadiri Sufi order by his father, and later received ijazas and also affiliation and bayah from other various Sufi masters. One of the greatest of his spiritual mentors was a very renowned saint and scholar. He was originally from India, but he had emigrated to Makkah where he lived. So he is known as Sheikh Imdadullah Muhajir Makki. He faced persecution from the British. That's why he took refuge in Mecca. So commonly known Hazrat Imdadullah Makki. Imdadullah served as a most impressive spiritual guide. He was the greatest influence on Ashraf Ali Thanawi. Actually, he had visited him once and stayed for a time, and then he came back. His master told him to go back and fulfill his mission in India, but then he still had another craving to go back to his mentor and went back again, stayed with him. Of course, he was really completely a person who experienced the spiritual sweetness of Islam. The relationship between the two sheikhs were characterized by spiritual mentorship, mutual respect. One should never think that, Sheikh Ashraf Ali Thanawi was simply, a disciple, but both of them shared, respect and commitment to tasawwuf and Islamic scholarship. Both of them were well grounded scholars, and both of them were affiliated with the various Sufi orders, including the Chishti and Naqshbandi. So these orders trace their spiritual lineage back to prominent Sufi masters, going back, as they say, to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Imdadullah authored a renowned Sufi manual titled Imdadul Bahiyya, the gift of the Illuminate One, which became widely respected in Sufi circles. Ashraf Ali Thanawi wrote a commentary on the work called Imdadul Asrar, the gift of the mysteries, which explains the spiritual teachings and practices outlined in the work of Imdad Makki, demonstrating their deep spiritual connection. The teachings and practices transmitted by Imdadullah deeply influenced Thanawi's understanding of tasawwuf and his approach to spiritual development. He would incorporate these teachings into his own works and in his work as a spiritual guide and mentor. He mentored thousands, not even hundreds, but thousands. Both scholars are revered by their followers and remain influential figures in the Sufi tradition. Their writings and teaching continue to guide spiritual seekers on the path of tasawwuf and inner purification. According to Thanawi, Ashraf Ali Thanawi, spiritual purification was highly critical for every Muslim, every scholar. Unfortunately, not much attention is given uh, in the way we impart Islamic knowledge, but he want to bring back that dimension. So emphasize spiritual purification, purging our heart of poisonous, the toxins, the vices, and the pride, the envy, jealousy, hatred, and malice, and fill the heart with virtues of generosity, compassion, love of the other, things like that. Adherence to the sunnah of the Prophet instead of innovating new rituals and innovative practices based on superstition and our opinion, insisted that we should strictly adhere to the practices to the sunnah of the Prophet. And his teachings in Tasawwuf focus on inner refinement, that we have to embellish. Allahumma habbib ilayna al-iman wa zayyinhu fi qulubina. When Allah says, Ya Allah, endear iman to ourselves and embellish our hearts with it. So we need to purify our heart and make it jameel. Inna Allah jamilun yuhibbul jamal. The When the Prophet ﷺ prayed, Allahumma kama hassanta khalqi fahassin khuluqi, ya Allah, even as you have given me a beautiful shape and form, beautify my character, my inner person for me. This is what he is emphasizing. And dhikrullah, constancy in dhikr, and ethical and moral conduct. Very, very important. The Muslim has to be a man of ethical conduct. Our morals we have to refine. He served as a spiritual guide to many disciples, offering them personalized guidance and support in the spiritual journeys. He had his own Hanukkah, where he would gather, merchants and people from all classes, society would gather, and he will, of course, uh, each one is uh, meant to serve themselves, it's himself, and also it was this Ashraf Al Thanawi was a very, very humble person. He would, if he has a need from anybody, even a disciple, his own disciples who were doctors, if he needed treatment, he would go out to them and meet them wherever they meet the patients. Instead, he could have called this doctor home. He wouldn't do that. This is the way that a person who needs something should do it himself. Self-reliance. This is a very important aspect of the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ, that instead of being served, one should be serving others and one should serve himself. Educational reformer. He was not a simply armchair scholar but a reformer, because he considered it very, very critical in the given milieu that he was, the challenges and the issues Muslims are facing. There was a need for overhauling the education system. So he advocated an education reform, and he played a crucial role in reforming the curriculum of traditional Islamic seminaries. He called for a balanced approach that integrated religious and worldly knowledge, emphasizing the importance of critical thinking and relevance to contemporary challenges. And he urged scholars that we need to prepare qualified, competent teachers. And for that, he implemented measures to improve teacher training and professional development. Because he believed that competent educators were essential for providing quality Islamic education. So he established his own educational institutions, including madrasas and khanaqahs, Sufi lodges, where students receive comprehensive training in Islamic sciences and spiritual development. These institutions have become centers of learning and spiritual guidance. Thanawi's influence extended beyond scholarly and curricular spiritual circle to the affairs of the community. He was actively involved in his community, including the direction politics should, he was involved in with aligned, the Muslims first cooperated with Congress for the liberation of India, but when later on they realized that Muslims will be threatened by the majority Hindus, Muslim scholars had different vision, and the vision of Ashraf Ali Thanawi was Muslims lead their own country, which is now Pakistan, they say. But other scholars, there were other Deobandi scholars who said no, we should work within India and a composite nationalism. So this is a different way of approaching politics. So ijtihad, the insight of Ashraf Ali Thanawi taught him that it's better for Muslims to work for their homeland, separate from Hindus, that of Hindus, so that Islam can flourish. But of course, this experiment is not a success as far as we see now. Uh, Neither Indian Muslims nor the Pakistani Muslims are better off now because the scars of this partition of India is felt deeply by Muslims of India, and we are marginalized, we are accused, we are blamed, we are victimized. So this is one area where one may question his, this kind of interpretation that he made. Of course, we cannot blame him. We have to excuse him. He thought, he was his plan was in the best interests of the Muslim Ummah. He advocated for Muslim unity, tolerance, and cooperation among Muslims. He also promoted interfaith dialogue and understanding. Initially, he was involved because Christian missionaries were attacking Islam, so he would take up the challenge of debating with them. But later on, he realized that this kind of debate and munadara are not very fruitful. They can, they have negative influences. So he left that. Instead, he was peacefully, uh, through his books and sermons, disseminating the beauty of Islam. And of course, he considered that it's better for Muslims to manifest the beauty and present the beauty of Islam through their own character, actions, and daily practices and interaction with others. Stress social issues such as poverty, education, and healthcare emphasize the importance of charity and social responsibility in Islam. Many people ignore this important aspect. We must know that Islam teaches social responsibility, which means we live in a society, we are responsible to move the society forward, to make it compassionate, to conform to the ethical and moral norms and values. We should set examples for that through our own participation, our daily interaction, our programs and plans and things like that. Works. Thanavi, known as Hakimul Ummah, the sage of the Ummah, extraordinarily prolific author, as we mentioned, scholarly exceeds 1,000, spanning various fields of Islamic knowledge. Just a gist of this, a brief overview of some of his essential works. His works encompassed Quranic tafsir, exegesis, hadith sciences, studies, Islamic jurisprudence, aqidah or Islamic theology, spirituality, ethics, social issues, and more. Let us summarize his scholarly output. His encyclopedic work, Bayan al-Quran, is an encyclopedia in many volumes, is a comprehensive commentary on the Quran. Bayan al-Quran, it's in Urdu, is one of his most significant works, a testament to his profound insights, because his deep reflections and studies of the Quran, I want to present them. Prevailed, he provides detailed explanations of Quranic verses, exploring their linguistic, legal, and spiritual dimensions. It's very important. When it comes to Hadith, he authored a multi-volume work, Al Sunan. Of course, this was done with his disciple, which is a commentary on Imam Tirmidhi's Sunan, actually. One of the purpose of this is important encyclopedic work is to show, to refute those who falsely allege make an allegation against Imam Abu Hanifa that he disregarded the hadith. He did not know the hadith. No, that is not true, actually. How could it be when people call him, even scholars call him Al Imam Al Alam, the grand Imam, the greatest Imam, to put it hyperbolically, actually. How can he be considered such a greatest Imam when he, phrases the ruling of formalities, ruling in disregard to the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ? So he shows that Abu Hanifa Rahimahullah never uh, disregarded the Sunnah. He considered he knew the Sunnah, but his approach to the Sunnah was different because he insisted on the authenticity and also its conformity to the rational principles established by the Quran. So, uh, this is another way of understanding the significant originality of Abu Hanifa Rahimahullah. As Imam Shawaliullah said, Kana Ghawwas al-Ma'ani, he was a diver into the deep inner meanings of the Quran. So he was saturated, he was just imbibed with this Quranic spirit and Quranic message rationality, and this was reflected in his fiqh insights and formulations. So therefore, he believed firmly that Quran and the Sunnah can never contradict. Actually, this idea is also expressed by Ummul Mumineen Aisha radiallahu anha when she explained, when somebody was saying that uh, if somebody dies and the family cries over that person, they will be punished for doing so. So when Aisha heard about this, she asked, how can this be true when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, La tazru waziratum wizra ukhra, no soul is burdened with the sin of another. No one is punished for the sin of another person. So if you say that you are punished because you cried because your dad died, that the person who died will be punished. If I cry, my father will be in the grave, will be punished. If I say so, I'm contradicting this essential principle of the Quran. La tazru wazratum wizra ukhra, meaning everyone is responsible for his own actions. So how can I be blamed for the action of somebody else? In this work, he elucidated the meanings and implications of hadith, providing valuable insights into prophetic traditions. Another related work, accessory to the same, Maqalatul Rashid. This is Rashid, a collection of scholarly essays on various topics related to Hadith studies, including methodology, authenticity, and interpretation. When it comes to Islamic jurisprudence, fiqh left behind a number of works. One is Imdad al-Fatawa, a compendium of legal opinions addressing a wide range of contemporary issues. It is a work that shows his mastery of Islamic jurisprudence and his ability to apply legal principles to modern times contexts. Another work of his, Heavenly Ornaments, Beheshti Zewar, is a popular Islamic law and ethics manual. It's aimed at women. Muslim women, covers worship, morality, family law, and social conduct, and provides practical guidance for daily life, especially for sisters. He wrote another treatise on Aqidah, Al-Hathu ala al-I'tiqad al-Salafiyya, Qadat al-Salafiyya, where he uh, presents the mainstream beliefs, Aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. It shows that how he adheres strictly to the mainstream Sunni tradition, and he expounded that. As a Sufi mender, he penned several treatises on tasawwuf, and where he is trying to show the integral relationship between Sharia and Hakika. The Tasawwuf and Sharia are not rivals, they complement. There is no benefit from with they go hand in hand. They cannot be separated, they cannot be isolated, because it's just like body and soul. His work Hifzul Iman, another work, protection of faith, is a preserving of faith. A topic, it is preserving faith, the importance of protecting one's belief from doubts and misconceptions. The reflects is deep spiritual insight and commitment to spiritual purification, inner purification. Malfuzat, there is another collection of his counsels compiled by his students, spiritual discourses and teachings. This was a common practice among the mentors. Malfudat, their students will collect their advices, their letters, their sermons, so that is a resource for the spiritual seekers. So he has Malfudat Hakimul Ummah, compiled by students offering guidance for spiritual seekers in various aspects of Sufi practice and spiritual development. He went on to compile treatises on ethics and morality because he realized that Muslims are lacking in ethics and morality. Of course, they practice outward aspects when it comes to social interactions, muamalat, how to deal their social life, interaction with others, economic practices, political activities in the arena, in the public life. They lack morality and ethics. So we realize the integral, how it is in, integral, ethics and morals are integral to Islamic faith and practice. So it focuses on individual conduct and interpersonal relationship. So very, very important. He considered that our relationship with others should be highly ethical and moral and compassionate. The critical importance of virtues, honesty, humility, and compassion. It's highly, highly crucial. How the scholar is, looking at the diseases of the Muslim Ummah. When you look around, we will see the why. We may ask the question, why our prayers are not heard. Actually, this is why. Because we have taken Islam, just apply it as a shell, outward practices. We lack the morality, we lack the ethics, we lack the spiritual, experiential aspect of this religion. His scholarly output profoundly impacted Islamic thought and practice. His works continue to be studied and referenced by scholars, students, and practitioners worldwide, and they serve as authoritative sources of knowledge for in various fields of Islamic studies. Beauty of his approach is a balanced scholarship, spiritual refinement, and practical awareness. And also, he's free from sectarian, attacks. He wanted to bring Muslims together and make them understand the beauty of Islam when we believe it and practice it, and what difference it would make for an individual and for society. Balanced spirituality. He was a reputable jurist, accomplished Islamic scholar, but not confined to traditional teaching. He recognized the spiritual growth and inner cleansing. That's why his engagement with the Sufi concepts emphasized practical spirituality. True spirituality was not limited to rituals or theoretical knowledge. It should manifest in practical actions and ethical behavior. He encouraged Muslims to cultivate a personal relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through performance, vigilance, and mindful performance of acts of worship. and acts of kindness and self discipline and compassion. While being a powerful critic of, at the same time, he criticized the Sufi aberrations and excesses, innovations, as he saw in his time, as he looked at the ways of tasawwuf has been uh, practiced in his time. There were a lot of aberrations and excesses, still there is, so he criticized them. But at the same time, this did not lead him to reject tasawwuf altogether. He recognized that you can never underestimate the importance of tasawwuf, and he also emphasized the need for a spiritual guide to provide guidance on the path of self purification and closest to God. He taught that tasawwuf should be grounded in authentic Islamic teachings, and he shunned the superstitions and innovations of all kinds. He insisted on the critical importance of dhikr, constancy in dhikr, regular practice of dhikr, self reflection, introspection, muhasaba, muraqaba. We have to observe our actions, our words, and the manners. We make sure our whatever we do is done with the best of intention, sincere intention to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We must believe that Allah is watching us and Allah is witnessing. Allah is observing, His angels are recording. So we do try to appear before Allah as best as we can. Believing this practice will lead to spiritual awakening. When we continue this authentic path of spiritual practices, it would lead to spiritual awakening. Regular prayers, recitation of the Quran, and seeking forgiveness are essential components of an authentic Islamic spiritual life. Unlike so called Sufi, self styled Sufis, he cautioned against extreme asceticism. He said that a Muslim should never neglect his worldly responsibilities because the Prophet ﷺ said, you have your spouse has rights, your body has rights, your eyes have rights, your visitors have rights, your Lord has rights, and give each one their right, fulfill the duties towards each one. So a balanced approach to life. He believed in balance, but we have to be engaged in the world while maintaining a strong connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, and he emphasized simplicity, humility, and sincerity in spiritual journey. One of his main, very important contribution was empowerment of spiritual women, empowerment of women. He worked, he realized that there is no way Muslim Ummah can progress until we educate the women. And of course, he proposed. Of course, I am not agreeing with all of this way rulings that he gave on this issue, but surely the essentials, work of Ashraf Al Thanawi is really positive, multifaceted, encompassing education, spiritual guidance, ethical teachings, and practical advice. This is what through them he wanted to empower. He wanted to give women the tools they need to lead informed, pious, and empowered lives within the framework of Islamic teachings. Thanawi played a crucial role in enhancing Muslim women's religious and social status in his time and beyond. His work, Bahashti Zevar, explicitly addresses Muslim women. It's a comprehensive guide to covering various aspects of a Muslim woman's life, including religious obligations, personal hygiene, ethical conduct, family life, and social responsibilities. So, he taught the importance of education for women as well as men, emphasizing in nurturing righteous and knowledgeable future generations. Because how can we expect, al ummu madrasa, umma, mother is the first university, first school we attend. So if this first school is not grounded on, established on the foundation of knowledge, what can you expect the future generations? Then we provide spiritual guidance. Women emphasize the importance of inner purification, remembrance of Allah, adherence to Islamic principles. He addressed various aspects of human rights within the framework of Islamic law, including marriage, divorce, inheritance, and financial independence. He also provided advice on managing household affairs, childbearing, maintaining harmonious family life, helping women to balance their domestic responsibilities with their spiritual and educational pursuits. He encouraged women to participate in community activities. He didn't want to shut out women from public life, but women should be involved in community activities and charity, promoting the idea that women could contribute significantly to the welfare of their communities. Now, coming to his legacy, of course, he exemplified ethical Islamic leadership. What we mean by that? Integrity, honesty, humility, service to the community. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was known. Allah describes him Rasul, Jaakum Rasul min anfusikum. Yes, they have come to you a messenger from among yourself. So a man of people, and he was known for his integrity, for his honesty, truthfulness. So this is first requirement: ethical conduct, morality, integrity, humility, and service to humanity. The Prophet was known outstanding services, and that was the proof that Khadija radiallahu anha used. How can Allah forsake you when you are tahmilul qall? You carry the burden of others. وَتُعِينُ and rush to the help of the needy and the distressed. وَتَكْسِبُ الْمَعْدُومِ you earn for to help those in need, the deprived and destitute. Kalla wallah, la yusik Allah abada. Allah will not abandon a person like that. So you see how Ashraf Wali's insights are actually, he imbibed this wisdom from this deep understanding of the Uswa, the great role model, the Sunnah of the Prophet. His conduct and adherence to Islam inspired respect and admiration from everyone. He advocated for unity and tolerance, and promoted interfaith, emphasizing peaceful coexistence and mutual respect. His works have been translated into multiple languages and continue to be studied by scholars. He is revered by millions of Muslims as a saintly figure, as a waliullah, a friend of Allah, and a spiritual luminary. And his teachings still remain relevant, contemporary Muslims. He's marked by his profound scholarship, spiritual insight, educational reforms, social advocacy, and women empowerment. His comprehensive approach to Islamic practice, integrating knowledge, spirituality, and ethical conduct, has left a mark on Islamic thought and practice. Thanawi's enduring influence continues to inspire and guide Muslims in their quest for knowledge, piety, and social responsibility. Now, how did scholars appreciate? Of course, we have countless of these testimonials. I pick a few of them. Scholars of diverse backgrounds praise Thanawi's scholarship and accomplishments. According to Sheikh Abdul Hayy al Hassani, one of the great authors and scholars, Thanawi was one of the outstanding divine scholars, Rabbani actually, who has benefited people through his sermons and prolific works. He has helped reform Muslim beliefs and practices. Multitudes of people have benefited from his works. He purged their lives of the many un-Islamic customs and innovations that have come into their lives. Imam Muhammad Zahid al-Kawthari described Ashraf Ali as a preeminent scholar, a unique Hakim sage, mender of menders, Ustadul Asatida in the Indian subcontinent, brilliant scholar of traditions and sound critique of innovations, whose prolific works have surpassed 1,000. Allama Sulaiman Nadawi, one of the greatest scholars of India, he was the scholar sage of the Ummah. Actually, he was affiliated, he benefited from, was Ashraf Ali Thanawi was a member of Sulaiman Nadawi and many other outstanding scholars. So he says, reformer of the tariqah and divine scholar who harmonized fiqh and tasawwuf. His teaching, mentoring, wise counsels, and sermons have benefited multitudes for half a century. Allama Abul Hasan Ali Nadawi, we covered him. Ashraf Ali Thanawi was a great reformer who stood out among the eminent scholars of Iraq. Surpassed, he is the most prolific author of all time, whose works serve as a source of reference in spiritual mentoring, guidance, and purification. People flock to him from all over the world. Now, let's have a sampling of his wisdom, very, very deep inside. We must understand that the proper object of the Sharia is to discipline human beings in such a way that they make the fulfillment of their obligations to the Creator and their obligation to the creature the means of gaining the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, human being tarbiyah is very, very, very important. Tarbiyah, nurture and train, discipline human beings so that their obligation, they fulfill the rights of the Creator and the rights of fellow human beings and creation simply, not for selfish reasons, but to gain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So intention has to be to gain the pleasure of Allah. And he says unveiling and miracles are not essential on this path. No one may have. And inshallah in the next session on Shara we will see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him with karamat, unveiling and graces. It's very, very interesting. We will cover that. But they are not essential for the spiritual path. They are graces that Allah gives some people more than others. Tasawwuf, real, is not an avenue to display exquisite and supernatural experiences because the aim of tasawwuf is not to gain fame by displaying in supernatural himself, but to please Allah by following the path of His Messenger. All of the authentic principles of tasawwuf are found in the Quran and Hadith. Some people believe that tasawwuf is not in the Quran. He said this is totally, totally false. It's what the aberrant, deviant Sufis, pseudo Sufis, cult leaders, Sufis, and superficial leaders are the one who entertain such a notion. Is there any doubt that noble qualities have been commanded and the base traits forbidden? Quran is all about the best of conduct. وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. And according to Ashraf Ali Thanawi, this is the gist of tasawwuf. You purge your heart of vices and poison toxins, character, and fill it, embellish your heart, your life with beautiful traits. And this is the actual meaning of reforming the esoteric acts and the primary purpose of the spiritual path. Another important observation, the pursuit of lawful wealth for valid reasons is not only encouraged but also holds significant value in Islam. It is a path that leads to peace of mind. How can you have peace of mind when you have to worry about the bread next year, what you will eat for your lunch or dinner? No, this is very, very important. This is the right understanding. A state that our religion holds out as an ideal for us because وَابْتَغِ فِيمَا آتَاكَ اللَّهُ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةَ وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. So, without the head, man is a dead body. Likewise, without prayers, all other acts of worship are lifeless. Remembrance of Allah creates and strengthens a special bond between man and his creator. So he urges his followers to practice diligence, constancy in dhikrullah. Mosques are not places for mundane activities. Mosques are erected purely for the remembrance and worship of Allah. This doesn't mean that we cannot have parts of the masjid for physical exercises, social outlets and things like that. That's not what he's saying. The reality of character is that we must not cause any form of difficulty or hardship or inconvenience to anyone, Muslim or non-Muslim. We should not harm anyone, whether it is presence or absence. True Sufism lies in the heart's purification and cultivating sincerity and reverence for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Very, very important observation. Another important observation, seeking knowledge. Because you know why he's saying that? Some so-called Sufis say, you don't need to pursue knowledge. You just simply practice spiritual thing and Allah will teach you. No. Seeking knowledge is an obligation upon every Muslim, and pursuing religious understanding is a lifelong journey. It's not something, it's a one-time thing. You have to continuously learn. Al-ilmu min al-mahdi ila, as Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahmallah used to say, that we must continue to seek knowledge from the day we sit in the lap of our mother until we hit our grave. The real measure of a person's worth lies not in their wealth or possessions or status, but in the goodness of their character and the sincerity of their intentions. Prayer is the foundation of faith and the key to spiritual fulfillment. Approach your prayers with humility and devotion. Allah will reward you abundantly. True generosity is not measured by the quantity of one's possessions or what he gives, but the kindness and compassion one extends to others. Reflect on your actions and seek forgiveness for your shortcomings. True repentance is the first step. Tawbah is the first step towards spiritual growth and renewal. Finally, patience is the key to overcoming life's challenges. Trust in Allah's wisdom and believe He will guide you through every trial. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless this, shower His blessings on this great luminary of the Muslim Ummah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us, bless us to benefit from His deep insights and benefit from scholars like him, and pray that Allah gather us all with them in the company of the Prophet, the saints, the martyrs, and the righteous people. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. And next time we will inshallah discuss an important spiritual mufassir of the Quran who had spiritual visions. I look forward to that session, inshallah, and I would urge you to attend that session. This is Mutawalli Shahrawi, and that will be the final episode this time. Then we will come back with more personalities, as we resume after the summer break, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us in all of our endeavors, and I urge you not to forget praying for our brothers and sisters in Gaza and Palestine and those oppressed people all over the world. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum.